I want to do my first spin, my pre-spin on my spun column. Don't worry if one tube happens to sit a little bit higher than the other, as long as the bottom of the tip is not too close to the bottom. This is fine. I need to use the yellow adapters here, and I'm just going to put them across. And I'm going to spin this for 2,000 RPM. And I'm just going to do it for 3 minutes. You can do it for 5 minutes. I found that 3 minutes is sufficient. This is for our spun column. Spun it for 2,000 RPM for 3 minutes. You can see now, actually it turned out that this was a little bit lower than we would like. We don't want to actually touching liquid, but that's a small amount, that's okay. So we've got excess liquid that was in the slurry now being spun out, and we want to get rid of that. And all I have to do is just separate it out and just flick this away. A little bit of liquid left behind is fine. Again, I'm keeping track of number 1 and number 2. And all I want to do now is transfer the aqueous phase and layer it on top. So I'm removing the aqueous phase, just as I've done before. Avoid taking up the chloroform, but if you get a little bit, that's okay. And often if you get a little bit, you can just leave, so the chloroform is heavy enough, it sinks to the bottom, and it will often just drip out of the tip. Okay, that's good enough. There's not much stuff left behind. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to gently drip it down the sides or straight in, it doesn't really matter. Let's do it for the second one. Now, I like to sort of remind myself I've done that one by moving it to a different position. I'm getting more of the chloroform this time around. I've got a little bit of chloroform at the top. You might even be able to see the interface. And if you look carefully, you see the liquid starting to drip out. But I'm just going to aid it up by just pushing out the chloroform. Okay, I've got a little bit of sample that's still there, but it's okay. All right, this is my sample, and I'm going to just layer it onto the resin. Okay, so to finish off the plasma prep, all I have to do is centrifuge it through the sample. What's going on here? The resin allows, will trap things of the sizes of proteins. The plasmid DNA is several million molecular weight, and so it's too big to go through the pores of the resin, and so it goes straight through. And so by spinning now for the same conditions as before, proteins and small pieces of RNA will be trapped on the column, but the plasmid DNA will go right through the column into the flow through. It's important to do this second spin under the exactly same conditions as the pre-spin. Okay, so I've taken out the samples, and if you look carefully, you'll see that there's liquid on the bottom, and that should have been, that contains our plasmid DNA. Same thing over here. So I'm going to just discard the spun column and the blue tip. I'm going to keep my adapter. And I've got my 2 tubes for sample 1 and sample 2 pre-labeled. And all I have to do is transfer the liquid from the bottom. So it's just slightly less than 150 microliters. Do it for the second one. So again, liquid on the bottom, discard the spun column, keep the adapter, and just recover the liquid. There's actually a little bit less than 150 microliters in this one, but it should be more than I need anyway. And now we have our plasmids. Typically, we will quantitate this to determine the concentration of sample we've got, and I'm going to restriction map these plasmids to make sure I've got everything is okay. You may also need to sequence your plasma sample. But that's it. Here's our plasma prep.